it doesn't work, I'll record it on here. It's a DJI twin mic thing. I might do a little review on it. Comes in a nice little box. Bought it mainly for doing core and stuff like that, and the Zoom training stuff I do, but conscious that the one I've been using in here was a bit naff anyway, and it was all bulky and wires and stuff. So these are nice little wireless units. They've got a little magnetic clip. I can put a wind thing on, so I'm just playing about with these, so we'll see how they go. Anyway, right, we're in the workshop. I don't know if you can see this. Pan down. Are we on that? Yeah, we can see that. God, that camera's getting wobblier. Right, so this isn't what we're doing tonight, but this is what we're doing first. So this should hopefully just be a quickie. It's the trolley we use to transport the stuff up. It's a long way from here down to the house. So whenever we're loading up the truck or we're shopping or anything like that, it's a right ball ache. So we bought this. It's supposed to be 700 kilo payload. But it's obviously, there's a high quality of Chinesium in there. And my son, who's not shall we say sleight of hand with anything, has smashed it up the step and folded the wheels under and ripped the bolt out. So we've got to try and get that out, batter it back into some kind of shape, drop the bolt back down, and I've got to see if I can weld it back up somehow and make it a bit stronger than it was before. So we're going to crack on with that, and then I've got, if you've seen it on the teasers, the voodoo's back again. You're not gonna believe this one. Anyway, so let me get this flipped over and ready to start doing something with it. Bring you back in a mo. Going to restart the mic, so I hope the mic is working on there. You're recording, aren't you? Yep. Right, don't worry about my feet. It's okay. These are safety Crocs. They are genuine Crocs as well, not Fox. Right, I'm going to have to chase out a bit of that. I think I'm just going to have to get the a die grinder in or something. Trying to think of what I've got that I can do that with. Yeah, that's definitely what's bringing out on top. Right. What have we got in here? Ooh. So I'm already sick of it wandering around. Let's see if we can get anything going with this. Nope, that's not having it, is it? I don't know, it's somewhere. I know you're screaming at me. Flipping mic's up right under my chin as well. Let's put it on the clip. I can have it a little bit further away from my face. That's better. Right, how's that looking? Nope. Don't think I've got any drill bits that are big enough. Otherwise I'd send a drill bit in. No. I think that's the biggest I've got. It's certainly the biggest that'll fit in the drill. I thought I did have some really big old pit ones in here, but I think we might have got rid of all of them. Well, I've been in here if they're anywhere. I suppose I could try that, but the problem is it's got nothing to bite on. It's nothing to centre it. It'll just keep whizzing around. Ugh. I'm absolutely lathered. It's red hot in here. It's about 32 degrees outside and it's like a furnace in here. Right, let me just have a look for the Dremel. It's not coming out. I'm going to have to make the hole so large to get it out. It just doesn't want to. It doesn't want to know. So I'm thinking I might just try and blob a bit of welding around there. But I need a decent earth and I can't find one. Unless I can get a decent earth off there. Right. Right, bring you back in a mo when I get the welder set up. Right, don't be too judgy. I haven't done any welding for about 4 or 5 years. I've no idea if I've got enough gas left. And I don't even know if the welder works. So we'll give it a go. I think I'm burning a few holes in that. Let me just turn it down a bit. I think we've got a problem with the speed as well. Alright, just got another hole to fill in here. Yeah, I don't think my gas is on. Yes, very little gas coming out. I think if it fails again, we'll have to get the other type of welding. Yeah, still got a big hole in it there. I need to fill in. I don't know if you can hear it, the wire feed's awful, it's pulsing. So I'm struggling to keep the puddle going. Looks like bird shit, but hey ho. Oh. Right, let's shift this thing out of the way. Probably melted a big hole in the top of my Surprised I haven't melted a big hole. Well, it seems solid enough anyway. Right, let's get this out of the way and get the bike in Wispost. It's at this point I realised the sender unit was not turned on the camera. I think I do spot it later on. Actually, I do spot it later on. So this is all narration. So gesticulating at the bike there. So this is the voodoo. We've had it in the workshop before. I think that's what I'm saying. It's a bit of a strange one, this one. He does go through a few bottom brackets. He's very hard wearing on the bike. There's a few weird ones about this particular instance, which I think I'm going to come to in a minute. This is weird. I've never done narration on my own videos before. So I'm probably going to show you something in a minute. And I think you seem to remember I was waffling on about the RAF video. The RAF advert in the UK. The bike's had a hard life, as I said. I've rebuilt the bottom bracket 2-3 times now. I've checked over the rest of the bike. The rest of the bike looks okay, actually. The chain's stretched and it's twisted as well, so we need to replace the chain. The brakes are okay. The forks don't lock out as they're supposed to, but I really don't want to get on to touching them because I couldn't easily see how to get the top cap off, and to be honest, Michael he's not that bothered about locking them out. He's never been bothered about fixing them. The other issue with the bike is the axle won't come out, so we can't get the front wheel off. I think you can see from the video that tyre is very, 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 very slick, and it's just got knobbles on the outside. So the reason it's coming again is there's an issue with the bottom bracket. Yeah, I think I've just spotted that the tyres are very bald. Well, I haven't, I already knew they were bald. Here we go. Here's the crux of it. So drum roll. Watch this. I'm pretty sure that last time I checked, you weren't supposed to be able to do this. Just move it so I can see it in the camera better. Yeah, it's all working. Nice. You might actually be able to see what the problem is already. Yeah, I know. That's the first time I've ever seen that. I mean, what can you say? So every time we strip the shell out, it's just normal square taper bottom bracket. It's I actually know what the size is. I measure it later on, so I'll not get that one away. But I've got a load of ball bearings that stash sets, and every time he breaks the ball race, this is the bike where he shatters the ball races regularly. He's just very, very hard wearing. He's quite a muscular chap. He's a big lad, and he rides the bike regularly. He uses his commuting bike, and it's just mullered. So a lot of corrosion in the bottom bracket. The bike gets used in all weathers, so I think that's the main reason. It's metal fatigue it's got through, and it's just giving up the ghost. Now, interestingly, I did wonder at the time whether somebody's already been in had a go at this, because they were not at. There was no way those were done up to 40 Newton meters. So I don't know if somebody's had a go at taking it off and tightening it or something, but the one around the other side is even more loose. So we need to get the crank extractor in now. So I'll go for a dig around in my box and drag that out. Once I've got the retaining tension screw out the other side. Don't need to retain these because we'll get tension screws with the new bottom bracket. One thing was obvious, that the crank was fine. It was the actual bottom bracket axle that had sheared. At the time I wasn't sure where it had sheared. We'll find out. You'll see that shortly. Don't call me shortly. So I'm now waffling and digging around and trying to find something. Crank extractor. And then I think I tried pulling out the 15mm spanner and the 16mm spanner, and it's a 14mm, which I should know. Come on, Marky Mark, hurry up. Gotta know how frustrating you lot get now waiting for me. Here we come. He's back. Good lad. Right, so be careful with these, they're very fine threads, and if you do muller the threads, you've pretty much knackered your bottom. Your crankset, you'll have to replace that. So always make sure that you screw these up and they get right to the bottom of the thread. Make sure you start the thread with your hands as well. Make sure it is moving properly, it's not cross-threaded, otherwise again you'll muller your crank. And cranks are expensive, bottom brackets aren't. So always make sure it goes to the bottom. You might have to clean your threads out first, depends on how they are organised, because some of them have a bolt and nut system rather than a bolt into system like this is, and the threads tend to get a bit more full of shit. So a few of you will moan about this, I did say it on the video. That's that one I'm waving around at you there, that's a special tool for taking Ducati wheels off. It's quite a big, possibly 14mm hex bolt. So I'm going to stick that on the end of percussion. Now the theory being here is, you might say that this is going to knacker the threads in one. It doesn't matter because the bottom bracket's knackered anyway, but actually grinding away with a socket and wrench onto the threads of the bottom bracket with the extraction tool does a lot more damage than the percussion, because it's striking it, so it will eventually break the taper because it's an interference fit. So it's one of those things where you can put a bit of pressure on and whack it with a hammer, it'll just pop off the shaft. I think if you watch any of the videos where they're fixing Briggs and Stratton or those small single-cylinder small engines with a flywheel on, they do the same thing. They just put a bit of pressure behind the flywheel and then strike the retaining bolt on the front, and the flywheel just pops off. Similar theory with this. It puts a lot less pressure on the threads because it's percussing the interference fit, and it just pops off. I think you'll see on the next one I take more of a run up at it and it just flies straight off, but again I'm not entirely convinced that the other side. Now one thing that didn't dawn on me at the time when I was doing this, which I do need to check, and I do say I will check it, but I didn't think of the ramifications, was that because those cranks are actually loose, there's a potential that it could have mangled the square taper fitment within the crank arm. So we might still have to buy a new crank, but we'll come to that problem when we get to it. So there we go. Impact driver. There you go, straight off. Ugga-duggers. Probably saying, why didn't I take the chain off? Because you know you're going to get rid of it. Well, I'll leave it on because if I take it off I might lose it, and then I've got to work out how many links I need. God, 7 minutes goes a long time. Voodoo. Kazon. That's it. It's a Voodoo Kazon. Dual suspension mountain bike. They seem to have got quite a popular following on the on Tinterweb. I actually found a Facebook group for them. And funnily enough, somebody was asking how big's the bottom bracket, which I can now answer that question, and did answer his question. Somebody had come off with a half-hearted, when somebody asks a question and then they answer the question with a fact that's completely no way related to the question that was asked, just to prove that they know something. So what he wanted to know was what size square taper bottom bracket it is. So those of you who don't know, the bottom brackets come in two sizes. They come in 68 or 73. And this is a 73. Now what I can't tell at this point is how big the actual spindle or axle part of it is. And that's the other measurement you'll get. So I kind of guessed it was about 120, which was going to be a bit of a bugger because everywhere I'd looked had sold out at 120s, and I was going to have to go buy one of them Chinesium Tange copies. Well, ideally I wanted a Shimano one, but the Shimano ones are out of stock everywhere. So I'm now going to try and get this out. Now this is the problematic side. Now both these bottom bracket threads are not in the best shape on this frame. And I have said in the past that if the threads go, it's probably time to say goodbye to the bike. But I've since found that you can buy threadless, threaded bottom brackets. So they are bottom bracket shells that are designed to go in frames that have got mullered threads. And they seem to have some kind of a taper angle piece on the edges that bed into the frame and keep it centered. I'm not sure how good they'll be, but I guess that, you know, throw 20, 30 quid at it, and it's only a tenner more than a replacement bottom bracket. If it gets you another year out of the bike, it gets you another year out of the bike. So what I'm doing here is I'm getting it off. It is starting to move a little bit, but it's knurling up on the threads, and it's pointless just trying to rag it out, because you'll just, all that detritus it's picked up in the thread will just literally eat all the threads up. So what I've done there is I've put a bit of WD-40 on it, and I'm now then going to reverse the impact driver and send it back in the other way, just to work that. You can see it's going backwards now. So I think the other thing I said was to work out which way to do this. So with pedals, the thread goes with the side of the bike. So if it's a left-hand pedal, it's a left-hand thread. If it's a right-hand pedal, it's a right-hand thread. Now the thing to remember with bottom brackets, and it's all threaded bottom brackets, for BS English thread, it is the opposite. So on the right-hand side of the bike, it is a left-hand thread. So that's why it looks like I'm doing it up, but I'm not. I'm actually undoing it. Now you can tell the shell's under quite a bit of pressure there, because I'd whizzed it out and I still couldn't get it out. So I was having to do a bit of finagling to get it out. I've helpfully zoomed in so we can see that, even though the camera doesn't seem to want to focus. Oh, look at that bad boy. That's completely sheared off. You can see the state of the shell. I mean, that when it went in was silver, and I dipped it in hammerite as well. And you can see the other end, still got the bearing attached to it. Bearings are actually okay. That's what I was doing there, I was spinning it. Normally when I take these to pieces, the bearing just disintegrates, and the outer part of the race is usually in several pieces, and most of the balls have left the scene of the incident, and it's just chopped mince meat. Looks like an explosion in a gearbox, usually. The bottom bracket is fairly dirty. I think I do mention that later on, which is why it's probably hard to get out. It does seem to suffer with a lot of corrosion, this bike, in the bottom bracket. So I think there's possibly a design fault that's putting a lot of crap into the seat tube, and then that's running into the bottom bracket. So what I'm going to do is when I put the new bottom bracket in, which I think is actually an aluminium shell rather than a steel shell, I'm going to clean it up and cover it with, clean out the bottom bracket and cover it with molly slip. So I've now moved over to the bench. I'm not sure what the short interlude was for. And we're now going to try and measure it. And I was trying to measure it while it was still all in one piece, but then I think I realised that actually it'd be easier just to strip it down and put the two pieces of the shaft together. So I'm going to start whacking it with the persuader. Trying to tip my hand. Survived. Yeah, I think I'm being a bit hopeful there. Get it in the vise. There we go. Do you know what? I hate doing repositioning the camera without stopping the camera, because I think it's bad, but actually that didn't look that bad. Mind you, my tripod's knackered as well. Go on, get some welly, lad. There we go. Oh, where's it gone? Nope, it's not there. Oh, it's there. That's a man's hammer, that. I'll probably not, I'll say that. I'm going to get told off. Oh, but this is recording. I haven't checked it, because I'd be gutted if I had to go back and do it again. Now my red light's on. So I'm using one of the mics, one of the DJI mics. I've just set it to record, so it's like a dictaphone. And then I'll just drop the audio file in. So that's what I've done with the rest of these, where I actually remember to restart the recorder. Now it's interesting that when I did restart the receiver unit on the camera, I think I called it a sender unit. It's not. It's the receiver unit on the camera. The volume of the recording was a lot better and a lot clearer than it is actually directly on the mic. There's no reason, because it's exactly the same mic. I think it's just its internal recording levels are lower. So I think there is a setting using the software where you can actually turn that up. I think you can actually do it from the front of the receiver unit. There's a little touch screen. It's a tiny little thing, and it's got a touch screen on it. So I'm quite impressed with this DJI stuff, to the extent where I'm actually even looking at cameras now. I don't know if I mentioned it, I was going to sell the Insta360, but I took it away on holiday, and actually I've had really good fun with it and it's behaved itself. So I'm not going to sell it now. I'm going to keep hold of that. But I might buy the DJI camera for the workshop. We'll see. I was looking at drones as well, but I don't think I'm ready for a drone yet. No, you can't glue it back together. I think I did actually say that. Oh, should we weld it back together? I'm sure somebody with a lot more welding skill than me could do that, but that's not me. And I think all of so this is it. This is where I found out that there's there is actually. I think I was being a bit hopeful as to whether I would be able to see that or not. So anyway, we'll cut the suspense. It's a 73 shell and it's a 118 size. So that's end of the shaft to end of the shaft is a 118. So I wasn't far off when I guessed it was about 120. Ooh, I don't know why we needed to do that. That's it, sweaty armpit. God, that's not good, look. Get you, stop fingering his hole. Give over. Yeah, I know it's full of muck. Well, and you shouldn't go around sticking your fingers in other people's holes. Yeah, exactly. I think what I'm saying is I'll get the Dremel and I'll clean the threads up. I was actually looking this morning to see if how much it costs to buy a thread tap, and it's going to cost me about £80 to £100. I don't do enough of them now. Most of them are push fits, so I can't be asked to buy that. I haven't got any that are threaded now. Oh no, tell a lie. My mountain bike is threaded, but my mountain bike is lovely and it doesn't need any rethreading or anything. Right, my nemesis. We're onto those flipping Q-loc things. Right, so health warning here. This is not pretty. I'm going to have to use tools and methods you should never, ever, ever use on a bike. So the way these are supposed to work is you undo the quick release lever on the other side. You turn that little bobble there out a little bit and then you press it in and it presses the clutch fingers down. So there's a little clutch. You can see it there in front of that. There's like a little bobble that sits out. There you go. I've got the clutch to pop down and that presses the clutch in and it goes inside the axle. And the idea is the axle's supposed to come out. And usually with a couple of smacks like this, it will come out. Now what I find out fairly quickly is I'm braying on that and it's not moving. So my thinking is it's either stuck in the wheel again like it was last time, because last time it was stuck fast solid in the wheel. So much so that it's a titanium sleeve within the axle itself that's most of the structure, and it was corroded. I see I'm onto the medium persuader now. So you can see I've getting it quite far through, but then I quickly realised all I'm doing is pushing out the stanchion on the other side. So at this point I've realised it's actually stuck in the stanchion on the bottom of the fork. So the stanchions are the upright parts, or the fork legs if you like. So you can see the clutch is actually out again there. That's what they look like when they're out. And when you put the lever up, it jams that clutch mechanism against and holds it steady. And the idea is when you press that little bobble down, it pushes the fingers down out of the way. And that clutch goes into the shaft because it becomes 15 mil diameter there. And you should be able to pull it all the way out. But the end of the titanium tube is actually stuck fast in the bottom of the thing. Again, it's galvanic interference. You shouldn't get that on titanium as much, but and I did cover it with molly slip last time. I mean, I absolutely lathered this thing with molly slip. So I have no idea why. But like I said, Michael's quite hard on the bike. At this point, I realise this axle's probably on borrowed time. In fact, I'm looking at it now. It's sat on my desk as I narrate this, and I'll not spoil the what happens with it, but yeah, at this point I'm thinking I just need to get this out now. Worst case scenario, I'm going to have to replace it. I did try to save it last time because they're about 50 quid to replace. They are ridiculous. I mean, these are going on a mountain bike. They are very, very, very precision machined pieces of equipment. I think there's about 15 to 20 components in this, and yet they just get corroded up, they get full of mud, and the clutch doesn't work, and you can't get them out. And there's not one that's not been a nightmare. I think I mentioned I had one turn up at the lake a few weeks ago, and somebody tried to take the front wheel off, and they'd pulled the whole skewer out in the middle, and all the bits had fallen off, and absolute nightmare. And then they tried to put it back together using the quick release skewer out of the back wheel, and so at this point I realised I'm going to have to shock it out. So I do get a little bit of success. I get it further through, but all I'm doing is just pushing that outer stanchion back out again. So that's not working. I think I bash about with this for about another 5-10 minutes and swear a great deal at it. So there's not much more for me to narrate here. I'm just battering the living daylights out of it. I think I end up breaking the little gold washer off the end of it. But it's just not having it. So I soaked it in WD-40, and then I left it and came back to it, which is the point where I think I get the record, the volume going again on it. But yeah. It just does not want to shift. I think I tried spanners and everything to try and prise it out. This isn't a particularly good view. Do you know what? I think it might be time for a time lapse. So we'll take us through to the end, and when certainly the end of this clip anyway. Right, back down into normal speed again. Don't know what I'm waving at the camera there. Oh right, I know what that is, yeah. So at this point I'd knocked the middle out and knocked the end peg off, so the only thing that was left in there was the titanium piece. So I was going to leave it, but then I managed to find a socket that was just small enough to get inside the dropout on the fork, but wasn't small enough that it'd disappear inside the tube, but it does do quite a bit of damage to the tube, which is when I say tube, it's the main axle. So the axle caps come off, I've knocked that off. That's an interference fit, and they're not supposed to come off. But again, at this point, it's absolutely mullered. You can see all the corrosion on the axle there from the first time I had to fix this a few years ago. And that's why he's not changed the front tyre out. So I still can't get it out now, so I'm going to have to go and get the hammer and give it some more welly again in a minute. Come on, hurry up. You only had it in your hand 2 minutes ago. Give it some welly. There we go. I think I've stuck the screwdriver on the end of it now as well. There we go, whacking expensive flipping sockets again. Things you should never... There we go, it's dropped now. So we should be able to get that back out. Not left anything behind. Yay, wheels out. Right, so what you need to know, stop wiggling. Just put the thing through the dropouts and knock it through. That's it. Good lad. Blink. Swear. Right, so apologies to everybody who's had to watch that. And I think I do make some explanations to this, but I tell you now that is the only way to do it. I'll mention it later, but a local bike shop would not have touched this. for exactly that reason. Right, I think we get the sound back shortly. Don't call me shortly. Well, I say hopefully you can still hear me. It just turns out the sender unit had turned off on top of the thing, so I'm not sure how much you got of that, and I'd forgotten to turn this on. So there might be a whole load of narration goes on with this one. That'll be a whole new experience for me. Anyway, right, so we've got the bits. And when I say bits, I mean bits. Let's get you, so you can see the pile of unnecessary carnage. Why am I trying to centre it? Why don't I just put it in the middle? Yeah, right, okay. So these are all the bits we've got out of it. We've now got to put it all back together again. So this lives in there. So that's got to go in there. That has a slope on it, which is now partially mangled due to my efforts to get it out, but I'm sure we can sort that out with a bit of filing. Like I said, I'm not too precious about this because I'll be honest, I really don't think this is going to survive. Oh, that's weird. It fits in that one, doesn't fit in that one. Right, let me just move this back. We've got to get this in the end of here first. There's no nice way to do it. I don't even think this is big enough, to be honest. I think I'm going to be disappointed. Yep, going to be disappointed. So let's... I'm just watching the Dremel bouncing towards the end of the workbench then. Just going in a bit. Time to get the big one on it. Nearly there. So I'm probably going to have to put this in the drill and do some all sorts of stuff to try and get this right, because that's slightly burred over now. So that's going to need sanding. In fact, let's... I really don't think this one's going to make it this time. It was on borrowed time last time, but unless we just put it all back together and then do it, and it's future Mark's problem, because all we need to be able to do is put a new tyre on it. All I'm bothered about making sure that it'll go through the is taking this burr off so it'll actually go through the forks. It's thundering and lightning out there. You probably can't hear it, it's quite a way off. You probably haven't been hearing much tonight, to be honest. I don't know how this works, if it's not getting any input from the microphone, whether it defaults back to the camera's mic. Like a numpty, I turned this off earlier because this will record itself. It's got its own chip in it, memory storage. Right. I think it probably needs a bit of finessing on the inside too. And a bit more. Nope, that's not rounded in the slightest. Is that one rounded? That's got a bit of a round on it. So just try and clean up the inside of this a bit. Oh, I forgot we got the Dremel out. It is stainless steel, so it's quite soft. Yeah, so all I've got to do is just make sure that that will fit inside the fork tube still and doesn't get stuck. Could do with a bit of emery paper. Oh, that reminds me, these are going to come down to the house with me. Any more of them? Put them in my pocket so I don't forget. Nope, don't think we've got any more. It's a bit of a shame. Right, I need some wet and dry, I think. If anything else, this is going to end up being a three-parter, this at this rate. Let's take some burrs off this as well. Right, now that lives in there, and that lives in there, and this very, 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 very carefully lives in there. And this goes through, and hopefully we can get that to pop back out of there again. Oops. I need that bit. There it is. Well, we don't technically need that bit. That's it. Right, let's see if we can get it in the frame. Oh, it's gone through that bit, it's gone through that bit. Yep. Looks like we might have salvaged it again. Possibly. It does seem to be this end that it struggles with. we go. So I think all we need to do is give that a good clean up in there. Put money on this won't fit. No. Right. Needs must. I wouldn't normally file the inside of a machined axle like this, but it just seemed to be having a few issues. Right, I'm going to leave that. I need to shift everything out of the way and get the bike away now. But we may or may not have saved it. It's not brilliant. It's probably going to get stuck again. It is pretty mullered. I'll talk to Michael about it, see what he wants to do. I'll be honest, I don't think it's worth spending the 50-60 quid on an axle. Generally, because of the rest of the issues the bike's got. I mean, that's probably going to be about 20 quid. That's not a massive thing. If we can put it back together and get the tyre on, he just runs it as it is, and then if it breaks again, it's probably, you know, it's probably scrap. I think I might have said that last time. I mean, the forks are fairly ropey. I've tried fixing the lockout. I can't fix it. I couldn't even get this off last time to have a look at, which is why I didn't touch it. It is tied. All the bearings have gone in the suspension as well. So, but it's had a good innings, if nothing else, and we can probably get another 6 months to a year, possibly 2 years out of it before something nasty happens there again, or he gets a punch and we've got to get the front wheel off. So I'll tell him to drop his tyre off. I'll do his tyre for him. I'll order the bits and I'll see what he wants to do about this. But I'm pretty sure last time I looked they were like 50-60 quid, probably even more now because they're rare. Anyway, right, so we'll leave it there. We'll call this part 1, and then hopefully part 2's putting it back together. Job's a good one. Hope that's yeah, well, let's do a proper exit for once. Ooh, boom. Yeah, we need to tidy up in here a bit. I'm going to have a jiggle around. It isn't working as it is. I need to be working up this end. I need all the tools down that end. It'll make it easier to film. That way, even when it's pissing it down, I can just push the motorbike down that end, and I can still work up this end. So these cupboards are going to go down there with all the tools and all the machines, and then that workbench is going to go there next to the door. It means I'm not working in front of the light, and it means I can actually work in front of the workbench because this area will be clear. And then we'll see how we go with that. Who knows? Right, hope that was useful. Like I said, you know what the crack is with these. I do this. If that had gone into a bike shop, they'd have just gone to buy a new bike, mate. They wouldn't have touched that. I've probably got about 3 hours into that just to get the crank out and the axle out. A bike shop wouldn't have charged it, you know, that you'd have cleaned 150 quid before parts, just in labour, just to get to the position I'm in now. And then you're looking at 50 quid for a 50, 60, 70 quid plus their commission for an axle. They're probably going to charge you 50, 60 quid, maybe £100 to put a new bottom bracket in it. And then there's still the reassembly of the bike as well. So, you know, the bill for doing this would probably be about 300-400 quid if you went to a local bike shop. If they would touch it, to be honest, they wouldn't touch it because they just know that they're going to hit all the problems I'm going to hit. So, but for me, it's a bit more of an. There's two things. One, I'm doing them for mates, and I'm not getting paid for it. It's my time. My time doesn't cost. And it's interesting content for the site, because you know what, there's loads of people out there that have got bikes that are in the state like this, and you can get them to pieces. It's not pretty, you know. I do the pretty stuff down in the other workshop. You know, that's the stuff where you just unscrew stuff, you put stuff back on, everything's great. When it comes up here, you know the big hammers are coming out. Anyway, right, job's a good one. Hope that was useful. Please like it. Put some comments down there. I'll talk to you. I'll answer any questions. I do try to keep on top of it. We are definitely picking up the algorithm now. We've probably added 25% more subscribers on just in the last month. So, you know, really thank you. You know, I'm not planning on doing a living out of this, but it's just a bit of fun. It's part of my release from work and that. So anyway, right, jobs are good. Enough waffling.